So are any changes required to the agenda from members of the committee? Okay. Does anyone have a conflict of interest that they need to reveal about the items on tonight's agenda? Okay. With that, may I please have a motion to approve the agenda as submitted from a committee member?
So motion to accept the agenda as submitted. Melissa Anderson.
Thank you, Melissa. Did I hear somebody else making a motion?
I'll second it.
Very good. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion of the agenda? Okay, I'm just going to do a voice vote here just to make it easy on myself. So can all those in favor please say aye or raise your hand or let us know.
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Motion passes by unanimous consent. That's great. Okay, we've gotten to the welcome and introductions section. I think pretty much everybody knows me. I'm Alan Thompson, Mayor of Town of Riverdale Park, and I'm going to be running the meeting until you choose a committee chair, at which time I will hand over control of the meeting. So I'm going to go through and name the people who I see. The order keeps shifting, so if I get to the end and I haven't said your name, it's not anything wrong. I just was trying to do it. So Melissa Anderson, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. I am Melissa Anderson. I've lived in Riverdale Park about 11 years. I currently work for the Federal Highway Administration, and I have been a pedestrian accessibility and safety engineer for about 20 years. So I'm excited to have an opportunity to make our community a little more safer and hopefully more accessible too.
Thank you. Jeffrey York.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey York. I've owned the Natoli Place Apartments since July 27th, 2005. This is a warning. I am possibly moving in there next month, selling my house in Chevrolet and moving to Riverdale Park because it's such a fine place to walk, bike, and drive. So I'm currently in, where am I? Fenwick Island, Delaware. having crossed there this afternoon in 3 hours of torrential downpour. And I'm happy as a hound dog in a garbage truck to be here tonight.
Fantastic. Chris Fike.
Good evening. Just member of the community, live just up the street from Town Hall. Have a couple of young kids that just want to make sure we participate as I can to provide any kind of input to help the committee along.
Thank you, Chris. Chris Irwin.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am an instructional lead teacher, so a teacher, coach, and mentor at College Park Academy in Riverdale Park. We are grades 6th through 12, so we have a middle school on half the building and a high school on the other half of the building. As some of you are familiar with us, maybe some of you aren't, we are a Prince George's County public school, but we are a public charter school. So we have a charter agreement with the county and the state, and most of our students get dropped off by parents or take private buses. We do not have Prince George's County public school buses bringing our kids, and our kids come from all over the county. So I am very interested to be part of this committee and to see what we can do to help our students and help our community be safer and more accessible.
Thank you, Chris. Dan Barron.
Hey, good evening. My name is Dan Barron. I've lived in Riverdale Park for I think about 12 years now. Time's been flying. I my day job is working on federal grants for the U.S. Department of Education. I do primarily grant compliance for K-12 education grants to state educational agencies. Related to this group, I volunteer in my free time for a number of organizations, Bike Maryland, which is a statewide advocacy organization, on their board of directors, Friends of the Green Belt East Trail, which is working to build a trail to connect the WBD and Anacostia River Trail system along Maryland 193. I also volunteer with the College Park Bike Pedestrian Advisory Committee and teach learn to ride and safe cycling classes with the Washington Area Bicyclists Association.
Thank you. Lucy Aguirre.
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Lucy. I moved to Riverdale Park roughly 8 years ago. Before that, I was in DC for 4 years, and then before that in Boston. The majority of the time I did not have a car, so I traveled by foot or by bike. And I was racing triathlons, and I was doing some bike races as well. So I spend about 1 to 200 miles on the road on my bike every week. I've had a few, I've been hit by a car twice. So I have, a good experience as to what would make things safer for people on bikes, what would help drivers perhaps follow the rules. And I have different ideas just from my personal experience. So I'm happy to help in any way I can.
Thank you, Lucy. Mike Culp.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Mike Culp. I have lived in Riverdale Park for 9 years now, and I work for, along with Melissa, I work for the Federal Highway Administration. So you got two of us here. And I lead the Sustainable Transportation Group, and so we have do a lot of work nationally on sustainability issues. Avid biker and have ridden a lot in town, and along with Lucy I have not been hit, but I've had many close calls. So certainly some things to offer there, but I'm glad to be here, and I have a barking dog in the room here. So just warning you. Glad to see everybody.
Thanks, Mike. I think that is all of the advisory members who are here. Have I missed anybody? I know that that Judy Day is not going to be able to join us this evening, but has taken. We'll review the recording, and the other person is Yendi Phipps, and I don't see her in the list. So there are advisory members or supporting members. Councilmember Inyang, you want to start off?
Sure. Councilmember Ifeanyi Yang from the Ward 4, which is I live right next to the Whole Foods in the Riverdale Park Station community. And my ward sort of covers the Discovery District, kind of Kenilworth Avenue to East West Highway roughly, as well as up to the Madison Hill community on Good Luck Road, right off of Kenilworth Avenue. I'm a cyclist as well, not 100 to 200 miles a week by any means, but I'll be lucky if I get that in a month. But I have an aspiration of being able to cycle from the entire part of my ward safely. And right now, Kenilworth Avenue makes that almost impossible. And so definitely excited about being a part of this community. I have some ideas and thoughts in terms of some ways we can sort of move this forward. But I'm excited that this is actually coming off the ground, because I know it's been in talks for quite some time. So thank you all for volunteering the time.
Thank you, Ifeanyi. Director Lewis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ivy Lewis, Director of Public Projects and Services, Department of Public Works. It's good to be here with you. Thanks.
Thank you. Chief Turner is on vacation this week, and so he will not be joining us. And Councilmember Foe is an alternate in case Councilmember Inyang can't make it. So I think we have gotten through the welcome and introduction. Have I missed anybody? Okay, I'll take silence as everything is good. So I have a section here to sort of discuss the committee and the safety initiative overall. And I'll just, start out by reiterating some history that in 2019, the town realized that we had an issue. We had a pedestrian and bicyclist safety issue, and we needed to address it. Was this driven by the additional distractions that we all have in our lives, text messages, our cell phones are constantly buzzing and beeping at us, too much going on in everyone's lives? I don't know. I don't know what it was, but we realized there was a problem and started the Walk, Bike, Drive initiative at that time. Things only got worse since then. The pandemic has not improved anyone's attention or anyone's adherence to the law or anyone trying to sort of be, well, some people are trying to be better members of society, but nevertheless, the adherence to the law and attention have gotten, if anything, much worse during that time. Last fall, we had an unspeakable tragedy on November 20th, and in response to that, we had an outpouring of interest in getting involved and trying to prevent this from happening again, that sort of thing from happening again from the community. And we found that there was a tremendous knowledge and expertise in the community and interest. And so the council worked through a process to establish this committee. And I had some really, really difficult decisions on membership because there was so much expertise and so much interest from so many people. And I worked looking at the applicants to have diverse experiences and perspectives on the committee, because I think that it works best to have that, to have lots of people with lots of different opinions and people speaking out and sharing their knowledge and experience to bring us all together. And so that was my my decision. And I thank all of you for being here, for volunteering, and for being here now. And we on the town council, the reason we established this and the purpose of it is we want to tap into your knowledge and experience, both learned and personally experienced, and what you will learn over the weeks and months ahead, because there's a lot to know about transportation in this town and in the area. So that's what we want. We can read the charge. It's a little bit garbled, honestly. I reread it this evening and thought, well, I could rewrite that, but of course it's already written down, so can't. But we want your advice on everything that has to do with transportation that is not already in the engineering phases. If we're about ready to put it out for contract, then it's hard to change it at that stage. It's already been engineered. But anything else, any additions, and in particular, we need your help identifying gaps, things that we haven't thought of, things that we don't have in our plans, things that we don't even have on our radar. So please do that, and please provide us with any advice that you can on how to create a safer community and prevent future tragedies such as the one we had last fall. And that's all I can say about the history of the committee. All I can say about the history and purpose is that we want your advice, and we want it undiluted, and we want it at the fastest frequency that you can provide it, as quickly as possible. Provide us good advice, and we want to hear it. So that brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is a presentation from staff about some of the background of the committee, background of our safety initiative, and what projects are underway. So I will hand off to whoever is going to present, I presume.
Well, I'll start, Mr. Mayor. And so first, welcome and thank you all for your willingness to volunteer. So this evening, I'm here. I have Director Barnes, who is essentially the liaison to all of our resident committees and groups. We have Lieutenant Garcia here this evening, filling in for the chief. We have Marissa Davis here this evening. Marissa is a community safety programs manager in the police department. We have Laverne Peaks, who's our grant manager. We have Ivy Lewis, who is a support member of the committee along with the chief. And so I'll float into your different meetings. I'll be here whenever you want me to be here. But the staff team will be here to support you as you navigate your way through the walk, bike, drive safety initiative and your thoughts on how we can create a safer community. So if we can go to the next slide, Ms. Barnes, we're just going to take a few minutes, high level stuff. The goal here is to have a safe environment for all travelers within and through the town, and maybe through the town, something that the committee wants to look at, because we do have a lot of through traffic. And that's achieved through our 6 E's. We have educational programs, environmental enhancements, engineering, enforcement, equity, and evaluation. And my staff team is going to talk a little bit about some specifics here in a few minutes. But so equity, I think this is really important because I've been with the town now for 7.5 years, and I've talked with lots of residents, and I seem to recall many times where folks don't necessarily know the boundaries of the town. They know their neighborhood. They know how they travel through their area. But we have a couple pockets in town, if you will. So there's a neighborhood that is north of 410 and west of 201. And it's an enclave. And oftentimes folks that reside in a different part of town may have never have been there and not know that that's part of Riverdale Park. We have our multifamily neighborhood east of the Anacostia, south of 410. And these different areas are going to have different challenges as it relates to transportation and perhaps similar concerns, but perhaps on differing degrees, depending on the section of town. So I would strongly encourage that as you look at things, you're looking at all the neighborhoods of the town. We have education. We do what we can in terms of outreach to the schools. Marissa and the police department do a lot in the schools, as well as through our social media platforms, PSA announcements, things like that. The environmental enhancements, that's timely assessing and correcting infrastructure hazards. Engineering, that's incorporated in all of our projects. And enforcement, you'll hear from Marissa in a few minutes on our automated enforcement, but we also have the old-fashioned enforcement, if you would, the traffic stops. And then evaluation. How are we doing? And I think it was really important that we added evaluation when we added equity to the program. Next slide, Ms. Barnes. Director Lewis, if you just want to touch on what it is we're currently doing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Town Manager. The Department of Public Works actually has lead responsibility for 2 of the E's, environmental enhancement and engineering projects under the Walk, Bike, Drive Safety Initiative. Of course, equity, education, and evaluation is every department's responsibility. The fiscal year 25 capital improvement program has 42 funded projects covering infrastructure and building improvements, acquisitions, including vehicles, street lights, and street furniture, for example, and services, which are essentially technology upgrades for different programs in the organization. Of those 42 projects in the CIP, 23 or 55% of them are infrastructure projects, dealing with exterior assets in the community, roads, sidewalks, street signs, and those things. Of those 23 projects, 13 support the Walk, Bike, Drive Safety Initiative. 4 projects are environmental enhancements, and they include flashing stop and pedestrian crossing signs. I hope that you've seen those throughout our community within the last 2 years. Bus stops, believe it or not, they contribute to the safety of residents waiting at bus stops, sometimes without concrete pads or, without adequate infrastructure for them. And of course, roadway and sidewalk repairs. 9 of those projects fall under the category of engineering, which includes the Town Center Trail and Parking Lot Redesign Project and the Natoli Place redesign. Neither of those projects have launched. So there is an opportunity for the community to get really involved from the very beginning in moving those projects forward. We also have within that category sidewalk installations where they're currently missing, as well as curb ramps throughout our community. The budget for these 13 projects are a little above $4 million. Adding to that, the grant that the town received from Safe Streets for All, which is $537,500. That's the town's portion of the joint application with Edmiston. And with the Walk, Bike, Drive budget for unspecified projects at $351,435, increases the Walk, Bike, Drive budget to $4.9 million. And we're really excited about that. The town has 3 on-call engineers. Their contracts do expire in November, so we'll have a new solicitation released this fall, and hopefully we get interest from additional engineers. And as of July of this year, the town has 3 on-call construction contracts. That means we don't have to do solicitation for each of our capital projects. So we are well positioned to complete our projects in a timely fashion moving forward. Next slide. I mentioned equity is everyone's responsibility. I thought I would share with you the distribution of the CIP projects at this point in time. This map will fill in quite a bit more when we identify quick build projects, which Laverne Peaks will talk about in just a moment. And with that, I'll take questions unless we want to wait until the end of the staff's presentation. Thank you very much.
I can go either way with that. If somebody has a pressing question, we can do it now, or we can wait until the end of the presentation and collect all the questions then.
Okay, pretty straightforward. Great, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Laverne Peaks, and I am the ARPA project manager. So last summer, the town of Riverdale Park, along with Edmiston, we submitted a joint application for the Safe Streets for All program, particularly the supplemental planning and demonstration activities. And we would expand on our planning and the Adaptive Vision Zero plan that the county has. And this is the Walk, Bike, Drive will be our planning initiative. And within this grant, we'll have 23 sites that we will select for demonstration activities where we'll do pre and post testing. And then hopefully, when we get those results, we can put in a successful application for implementation grant. Next slide, please. So as I previously stated, the town did adopt the county's Vision Zero plan. And what we were planning to do in this grant is just build some quick build projects to test to see what is the best way to move forward for safety, optimum safety. So it's going to focus on community input, equity lens, best practices, and locational opportunities and potential for success. So there'll be a number of studies that will be completed, feasibility engineering, some targeted equity assessments, particularly on the high injury network. and potentially pilot programs for behavioral or operational activities. As I mentioned before, pre and post site testing and evaluation and documentation. And with that, we think we will have a successful project. Next slide, please.
Marissa or Lieutenant? I'm not sure who's covering this.
Good afternoon or good evening. Effective July 1st, we went to a residential program with our speed camera enforcement. And what we did was East-West Highway, Riverdale Road, and Good Luck Road are now operating at 24 hours a day, or 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. On Good Luck and Silk Tree, we've captured the highest speed at 68 miles an hour. On Riverdale Road, right by our elementary school, was 62 miles an hour. And a block away from our elementary school on the East-West Highway, the highest speed that we captured was 105 miles an hour. So we have some work to do with changing people's mindsets on how they speed through our town or drive through our town. We're continuing high visibility enforcement. And we also have red light cameras that are currently in the works of coming to our town, looking at additional needs for speed cameras throughout our town, and automated stop sign enforcement is in the works and should be, coming soon. Lieutenant Garcia, did you want to talk about some other things?
Yes, I can add some more information. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Garcia. I'm the Support Services Commander. And as part of my command, I oversee our automated enforcement as well as any special operations outside of our day-to-day patrol functions. One thing that we're definitely excited about is our new parking enforcement system that we have. That system went live on August 1st, 2024. And the parking system is for both parking and permit management. As of August 1st, we've issued 25 citations with 10 warnings. And in the 7 days, we've actually noticed a small decrease in parking infractions. And the two most common violations that we've seen are parking where prohibited by signs and yellow curve and fire lane infractions. For the high visibility enforcement, officers are conducting high visibility enforcement, proactive policing, and by integrating high visibility traffic enforcement as a standard practice during our day-to-day patrol assignments, we pretty much let the public know that traffic enforcement is a police department priority. High visibility enforcement also assists us in reducing other crimes as officers are being seen more frequently. The public is becoming more aware of our presence, being more conscious. Also, additionally, high visibility enforcement creates a general deterrence and encourages voluntary compliance of traffic laws. More importantly, in areas with high pedestrian and bicycle traffic. Additionally, we have, with the help of state-funded grants, our police department is able to strengthen our numbers during high visibility enforcement, giving us a greater success. And some of the grants that we have target specific driver behavior such as speeding, distracted driving, aggressive driving, driving under the influence, and pedestrian and bicyclist safety and awareness. And for future activities, install red light cameras, additional speed cameras, and automated stop sign enforcement. We're going to continue participating in enforcement grant opportunities to target specific driver behaviors such as speeding, distracted driving, aggressive driving, driving under the influence, and pedestrian safety. We're also going to increase public awareness of roadway safety issues using kiosks and on-the-street presentations in high injury areas and adjacent to schools. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Lieutenant. And then here's some data. Marissa, are you going to review this just to show?
Yes.
Yeah.
So since the implementation of the walk, bike, drive, we started hard tracking the speed camera citations. In 2019, there were 18,878. And as you move through the years, with 2020 moving to 37,264, and then 2021 jumping to 52,983, we sat down and talked about that. And it was just, there wasn't as much traffic. So people, I assume, felt that they can travel us faster. In 2022, we started to see a decrease with, the proactive enforcement as well as automated enforcement. In 2023, the number again went down to 39,000. And it looks to be for this year in 2024, right around the same pace of 2023. So we are seeing a decline, and hoping that people's mindsets are changing about the way they travel through the town of Riverdale Park.
Though I imagine we will be capturing more of them that were 24/7 operation in the majority of our cameras.
Yes, that definitely is. We're starting to see that with the 3 sites being live 24/7. Yes.
Okay, Director Barnes.
Good evening, everyone. As it relates to education, outreach, and community engagement, we're working to increase awareness and knowledge of the walk, bike, drive related issues and activities by using our communication channels. So you'll notice that we're regularly sharing information from Zero Deaths Maryland, Prince George's County, Vision Zero, MDOT, and other community stakeholders. We take every opportunity to share different kinds of information to keep the community safe. We will be utilizing an email address, safety@riverdaleparkmd.gov, to streamline both internally and externally walk, bike, drive related safety concerns in the community. So that information will be rolling out sometime this week, but it is something that we're working very hard. We have a checklist for our staff. So when they're out in the community, specific things that we would like them to look for. And we're hoping for the same thing to help create that culture of safety in Riverdale Park. We'll be using our walk and talks as opportunities to conduct our walking audits and identify issues within the community. And you may have seen at our community events, we distribute helmets, reflective bracelets, bike lights, and blinking pedestrian lights. We use every opportunity we have to get that message out there of walk, bike, drive safety. We will be providing, again, bicycle training for adults. Last year, we partnered with WBD. Some of the other bike businesses in town are interested, or outside of town rather, are interested in helping us with those efforts as well. Our police department participates with the local schools for Bike to School Day, Walk to School Day, and other school-related activities. Some of the future activities include adopting a community safety pledge. That's something we've talked about that we'd really like to help build that culture of safety in Riverdale Park. And we'd like to formally recognize our walk, bike, drive champions in town. So those are some of our education, outreach, and community engagement efforts as they relate to the walk, bike, drive safety initiative.
Thank you. Is there another slide? That's it. So we wanted to kind of just give you that high level, quick update. Here are some of the things that we do currently. I will add one thing. The entire staff team, from my perspective, is responsible to support and fully embrace the goals of this program. As such, I have our Director of Employee Services adding into our employee evaluations, their performance evaluations specifically, criteria for how every employee is supporting this initiative. And I think that's important, that the staff team is doing what we can to set the tone. But then we need the community, and we need this group to help, as Ms. Barnes said, create a culture of safety in our town. where infrastructure is well planned, where deficiencies are identified quickly, and corrective action taken. So with that, if there's any questions on anything that we shared, the staff team is available to you.
Thank you very much to all the staff. Are there questions from the committee or members of the public about this presentation?
I don't have a question, but an observation. Melissa Davis's information about the speeders, 68, 62 miles an hour. Maybe you're thinking about your shopping list and not paying attention, but 105, I'm just blown away by that. I mean, you know you're going over 80 miles an hour. That's just inconceivable. Just, oh my God.
Yeah, it's I mean, all those violations were at least 3 times the speed limit. I mean, that's the thing that got me, is it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, was somebody chasing somebody, or that's frightening. I mean, that's damage to a house if the car goes off the road, and other things. It's just and to, you know, multiple problems. I don't know. I'm glad everybody's here. That's all. Just
okay. Any other questions or comments for any staff member?
You have a hand raised, Mr. Mayor.
Dan, go ahead.
I had a couple questions. I'll just throw them out. I can take them offline too if it's easier. But for the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, will that include a planning element in addition to the 23 demonstration projects, or is it focused on identifying those 23 demonstration programs? I'm just going to throw them out. For those of us that might not be familiar with the parking enforcement automated program that went into effect in August, can you describe a little bit about what that's entails? And then I think I had one more, but I'm blanking, so I'll just end there. So sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. The last one was around the automated enforcement data. Has the town done any analysis with? I had heard kind of anecdotes that after adding the protected bike lanes on River Tech Court, there was a drop in speeding, and I was curious if there's been any analysis of how those design changes may have helped reduce speeding, in addition to the cameras that were installed there.
I'll try to remember your 3 questions. So if we can start with your last question first, Marissa shared with me, and Marissa, please chime in here, that we did see a decline initially. I think the number started to tick up a little bit, and then the road closed. And so we'll have to wait and see on that. Anything to add to that, Marissa?
I'm sorry. No, sir, that is absolutely correct. With the road closing down for several weeks, we did see a strong decline, although we still had some, but it declined. So we're just starting to get numbers again. So we'll be keeping track of that.
And on the Safe Speed for All, Laverne, can you respond to that?
Yes, so then I believe you asked, are we doing planning as well as demonstration projects? And the answer is yes.
And Lieutenant Garcia, can you provide some insight into it was the parking enforcement, Dan? Yes. You're muted, Lieutenant.
Can you repeat the question about the parking enforcement?
I'm just not familiar how the program that rolled out in August works. What does that entail? Is that, like, you mentioned yellow curbs, but does it include like places where there aren't yellow curbs if there's no parking signs? Is it automated, or is it police officers going around issuing tickets? I'm just not familiar with the program.
Yes, it's our officers that go out and write tickets, and the 2 that I mentioned were the 2 most common that we noticed. Most of those were, for example, where the multifamily places are. That's usually where, you know, we have the high volume of parking infractions. And that was the two most commons, but the officers do concentrate on other violations as well. Those just happen to be the top two.
And if I can add, Dan, the thing that's new and different is that it's automated. Previously, officers had to write paper tickets, and that takes a lot more time. And our police are pulled in many directions. And oftentimes, by the time they would have time to go respond to parking issues, that the violations would be gone. But now they can respond quickly, and with this new system, from what I'm hearing, it's working well. So, you know, we're hoping for more efficiency there.
Is it like the cameras mounted on the cars or something else?
It's a cell phone device
Okay.
that has a printer that's attached to it. So it's very user friendly for our officers to use. And one of the good things about the system is that we have direct access to it. We're the administrator, so we can actually track what the officers are doing. You know, we can tell you which areas the officers are encountering more infractions. And so if somebody were to have a complaint, say, hey, you know, this area has a lot of traffic violation stuff, I can go in the system and pull up numbers and stuff like that and see whether we're actually targeting that area or if it's being missed by our officers.
Thank you for all the clarification.
Okay, any additional committee or public questions about the presentation? Anything discussed in the presentation? Looks awfully quiet, so let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is going to be a big exciting point of the evening. Is you guys need to choose a chair. Your Citizens Advisory Committee, and I chair plenty of meetings, and I'm going to have one of you do it. So we can have nominations, we can have volunteers. It's up to you. Why don't we see if there are any volunteers to start with? And Director Barnes, if you could drop the agenda so that I can actually see people in slightly larger than postage stamp size.
So Mayor, would you
Anyone?
want to give a quick description of like, what does it mean to be the chair? Is it just you get to pick on people or something else?
So the chair will run the meetings, will presumably develop agendas before each meeting, and will be the primary point of contact between staff and the committee. So basically the staff will reach out to the committee as best they can, but if somebody needs to be tracked down, then the chair will probably be in charge of tracking that person down. But it's the important thing is running the meetings and ensuring that the reports that are required do happen on a timely basis. So any volunteers? So Jeffrey's still here. He said he was going to disappear, and I asked if that meant he wanted to be chair.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I got to go. I'm double booked, unfortunately. But,
Okay, well, we appreciate you being here as long as you could, and we'll see who gets elected. We'll let you know.
okay, thanks for putting this together. I think it's really important. I'm happy to be here, you know, right now.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Mr. York.
Take care.
So we do need a chair. Someone needs to either volunteer or to nominate somebody else to be the
So
chair.
since Jeffrey left, it's either him or Judy, right? The two minorities.
All right.
And Mr. Mayor, may I?
Please.
So it's my experience, and I should probably ask Director Barnes to weigh in here, because Jessica is involved with every resident group there is. The duties of the chair, I think, are, I mean, they're ministerial And so it's coordinating, getting the input, writing stuff down. And I think the staff team will do whatever we can to support the committee and support the chair and moving forward. So I would not view it, if I were in your seat, as a laborious task, because you have folks that are going to support you. So I just want to share that. And with that, Lucy all of a sudden seemed like she was nodding, like, yes, I could do this.
I think it's great that you guys offer support for whoever wants to be the chair. I think it's beyond the bandwidth that I have right now.
Understood.
Maybe in the future, or if I decide to cut down on my training with the 15 to 20 hours I spend a week in my full-time job and studying at night for school.
No, I was just trying, Lucy.
Nice try. Thank you for thinking of me.
Melissa, you've been watching me chair committees for a long time now.
Yeah, I was about to speak up and say running a committee is not my strong suit. So I'm not very organized and I'm always really busy. I'm happy to be an active participant, but leading the committee is not one of my strong suits.
Chris, your camera's off. How would you feel about leading the committee? And you're muted.
I believe I'm already chair of the other committee, so I didn't know if that kept me from having that opportunity as well.
It does not preclude you at all. Believe me, I'm chair of all sorts of things. Are you willing to take it on, Chris? Or Mike?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, is it I think, work commitments are like really overwhelming right now, so it would be difficult, I think, for me to do it by myself. Is doing something as like co-chairs, is that an acceptable thing, or do you have to have a single chair?
If we would like to have a single point of contact, but you can certainly share the duties if you wanted to have multiple people sharing the duties. So we'd have one point of contact, but you could put someone in charge of, the chair could put someone in charge of something else. So definitely can share the duties, but in particular, someone needs to chair the meetings and keep things organized and have results at the end of each meeting. And I can tell you, I have way too much experience at this. I've been doing it for decades now, but it's pretty easy. You don't have to follow Robert's rules exactly. You can just make it work and come to consent. And it does work out. And the thing is that we need to have a chair in order for the committee to work. And so please do, we need a chair. And so someone, if you want to have one person who chairs the meetings and is the point of contact, and someone else who handles a lot of the other duties, perhaps writing up documents, finalizing documents, and that sort of thing, definitely that would be an okay split of duties.
So Mike, if you wanted to be chair, I could help share some of those duties with you and kind of be the background chair, co-chair.
I thought it was gonna go the other way. So it's like you really turned the tables on me there.
Well, the way Alan described it, I think the helper person might have more work writing documents.
Yeah.
I can be chair if nobody else wants to be chair, Alan. Jessica may have to keep the fire lit under my feet.
I
Help me
think
stay on.
Jessica will be happy to help you out. So,
Absolutely.
so sounds like Melissa is willing to do it, but she's going to want some help. So, and if that's the case, can I have a nomination from someone? Melissa can nominate herself, or somebody else can nominate her.
I'll nominate you, Melissa.
Thanks, Mike.
Sorry about that.
And I'll just for the record, any other nominations? Okay, well, let's go ahead and have a vote. And I realized I'd made a mistake about membership, so let me try to get the list of members back up on screen. Hope I can find it. It's going to take me a second here. Hold on.
We really need some competition here, guys.
Okay. Lost that window.
Would you like Ms. Barnes to bring?
I've got it. So I can now do a roll call vote. Mike, do you approve of a vote for Melissa?
Yes.
Melissa?
Sure.
Lucy?
Yes.
Chris Irwin's not here. Dan?
Yes.
And Jeffrey is not here. So do we actually still have a quorum?
And Chris Irwin's here.
Yeah,
Chris,
I'm
Chris
here.
is here? Okay, sorry, Chris.
Yes.
So you vote yes. Okay, I think with that, we have an election. And Melissa, congratulations. And thank you so much for stepping up. And I'm now going to put you in charge of the meeting and choosing the cadence and times for the next meetings. So congratulations.
Right now?
We're there, and if I were there in person, I'd hand you the gavel. I'll stick around for 5 minutes if you'd like some help. But yeah, you're chair. You have assumed the position. So Jessica can put the rest of the agenda up for you to work your way through.
What's on the rest of the agenda? I'm screen limited here.
Jessica, we could zoom in a little bit. It's certainly tiny for me.
Okay. So I'm going to ask city staff, is there a reason that we need to meet by Zoom, or would it be appropriate to meet in person? Or does that work for the rest of the committee?
I'll comment on that first. Right now, Town Hall is still undergoing renovations, so we don't have a place to meet. And I think it's going to be up to the committee how they want to meet, whether in person or remotely. I will say that sometimes remote is easier. And staff can endeavor to be at in-person meetings, but they may have limitations with other things going on as well.
Understood. So I know that this meeting, we typically have a mixed-use town center design review committee meeting on the first Wednesday of the month. So the first Wednesday of the month typically would probably be a conflict. Do we want to meet monthly? Do we want to meet more often, less often? Any input?
Melissa, I would support monthly just to get us started, and I think we can always adjust if we need to. But that's just I'm just throwing my opinion in there.
Does anyone else have any comments?
I think that sounds good. I also think it's easier to pull a meeting down than to try to find time at the last minute time. So if we met monthly and don't need to meet every month, that would work better than trying to scramble to set something.
So how about I'm just going to throw this out there and I'm completely open to suggestions. How about the second Wednesday of the month? Does anybody have any objections?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I can speak for a moment, Director Barnes knows the schedules of all the other committees.
Okay.
There's a Board of Elections, there's the Code Committee, there's Town Seal Committee that which is wrapping up. So I would just ask that whatever date you choose, check with Director Barnes so it doesn't hit on the same night as some other group.
Good point.
Madam Chair, on the second Wednesday of the month, we are typically have the Board of Elections that meets. Tuesdays right now, the first Tuesday of the month is the town seal design, but that will be changing obviously. And then we have on Wednesdays, I think it's the third Thursday, we have the Ethics Commission. They're not every month either. So I would recommend if Monday nights are good, they're usually pretty good for staff and council. So the Monday after the legislative meeting, or perhaps the Monday prior to the work session, those are typically dates. I don't know how that works for the rest of the committee though.
We run into too many Monday holidays that may impact people's availability. Okay, well, this is a talkative group. I guess we'll do everything I want to do. So the Mondays that are available, Jessica, which Mondays were those?
So the mayor and council schedule is set through June. So I could put a schedule together because there are Monday holidays, which means the council would meet the week after. So it would fluctuate a little bit. But typically the Monday following the legislative meeting, which may be the second or the third, depending on the holiday schedule, is available as far as a meeting day goes.
Does anybody have any objections to that?
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I think that works for me too. And just so it's said, I think Zoom is better for me for scheduling as well.
Okay. Okay, I'll work with Jessica and we'll get a calendar put together and I guess we could send it out as a draft first to make sure nobody has any major problems with it. And then if we need to make adjustments. And does 7:30 work for everybody? Okay.
7:30 on Monday works for me.
Okay.
Just I'm part of it's my life now.
Yeah. I go downtown on Mondays usually, so it gives me time to get home. Okay. And I guess we have next steps. So our committee goals and objectives.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I think I'm curious about the role of the committee in terms of like the makeup. I know we have like staff who are here. Obviously, I'm here sort of like supporting from like the council perspective. Do you have a vision in terms of like the sort of equal participation? Is it like a board where there are like voting members and sort of like, you know, ex officio, you're here just in case, but not as active? Do you have a vision in terms of like how involved you want sort of members on the call to be?
I have no idea. I was not anticipating running a meeting tonight, nor.
It's more, the question is addressed to you, but it's, I guess, to anyone if people have thoughts.
Yeah.
I'll speak for the staff team. We're here in a support role, and we will have no vote. We're here to answer questions and to provide information to you. To support these meetings and field trips if you want to walk in the community, and we're here to listen and to receive your input. But we will have no votes.
Okay. Thank you, John. Yes, I'm supposed to use real titles.
John is fine.
Okay.
That makes sense. I guess maybe I should ask for like myself or Councilmember Foe. I'm assuming we don't have votes, but we can share our opinions. Just it's the first meeting, so figure it's good to kind of clarify some of the stuff.
I believe that's how it's done with the other council meetings or the other committee meetings that have a council liaison, is that it's an ex officio role. Jessica, is that the history?
Each committee is set up a little bit differently, but I think that's how that was envisioned for this specific committee, because there were kind of separation in the membership as far as the resolution goes. So you have your primary members and then you have your advisory members. So I believe that was the intent.
Thank you.
So are the goals and objectives spelled out in what the town accepted in the resolution that created the committee?
There's not specific goals and objectives for the committee itself. It's that the committee will provide advice to both the council and to the staff team on all things related to walk, bike, drive. And when the staff team created this agenda for you, we put that on there believing that it would be good for, if not this evening, but at some time soon, for the committee to say, what is it that we as a group coming together, what is it that we hope to accomplish? How are we going to navigate through our charge? And maybe it's not goals and objectives. Maybe it's priorities. What are the priorities of the group? And so don't feel locked into the wording on that agenda item. We did that to help you all begin a discussion about where you would like the committee to go.
Okay. So does anybody have any specific goals? Let's see.
Or if I could just chime in, I think one thing whenever the first talk of this committee starting back up again was, I kind of was trying to wrap my head around how the scale of it. It seemed like this could be a never-ending meandering of things. So I think that's kind of probably got to be the committee's first goal, is to try and compartmentalize different issues that we have, get them on a map and kind of quantify them, and then start pushing them into different buckets of short-term and long-term goals of what can be done relatively quickly, relatively cheaply, which are some things that we might not be able to impact directly if it is a state road or something that we have less direct control over. So if if we don't kind of put a pin in it in a certain, this could grow into this, evaluation phase that really never affects anything. So I think that's kind of got to be the first step, is to try and get all of the problem areas identified, and then from there, you know, staff's already really started digging into a lot of those, but what are the areas that are already being addressed? Are there additional areas, any kind of public outreach to get kind of that feedback? I think the safety hotline or outreach will be able to provide some of that feedback from the community directly. So it's kind of taking all those inputs and getting them into a traceable manner that can then start being acted upon. Otherwise, I think we'll just be kind of continually finding problems without really being able to have enough time to try and push for any kind of solution.
Those are all good points, Chris.
And Madam Chair, it may be helpful. I believe we have some documents that are in a Dropbox for the committee in terms of what our current projects are. We're putting together a new list of we'll call more maintenance projects, but street overlays, fixing sidewalks, all that kind of stuff's being worked on now. Director Lewis will have that list, say early October, you think?
Yes.
So as soon as we have that, we can provide that to you all. So it'll give you more information on the direction the town staff are going. And then if you all have input on that.
One of the things that I know that y'all have brought up and is in the Dropbox are there's several kind of, well, I don't know if large is the right term, but it's certainly several significant projects that are related to the committee. And it sounded as if the idea was that, the expertise of the committee needs, at least the vision of the town was to bring that to bear on those projects, if I wasn't misunderstanding. So like the redesign of the town center, the trail and the parking lot in the town center, the name of the street on the other side of the tracks that I can never remember, is that Lafayette? The redesign of the intersection there, and evidently those are kind of being looked at kind of together. What is the timing of that? Because that kind of has a little bit to do with bandwidth and the ability of the committee to review documents or review so I didn't know if the staff had any input on timing of that, because those are really important projects and impact a lot of people.
So and Director Lewis, if I missed something here, right now on those projects, we're actually looking to contract with someone to assist in getting those projects jump started. We had a meeting yesterday with CSX, because CSX is a big player here on both of those projects, because they control ground that others may think belongs to the town but does not. But I think that the way that, or I know the way the staff team's approaching this is we're going to have our engineers look at what's possible and be working with staff on what's possible. And then there's going to be some charrettes, and we certainly can bring what it is that's put together back to this group at a future meeting and say, here's what we've put together. What insight and stuff do you have? Are there things that we're not considering, or are there things we're missing? And receive your input and good counsel on how those projects could include different elements and that sort of thing. Does that help clarify, Mr. Culp?
Yeah, I think I was thinking about the timing of when that input would be. I mean, so it sounds like there's a little bit of a runway here.
There's a little bit of a runway,
Okay.
because everything's going to take some time. I was shocked that CSX met with us, frankly.
Yeah, congratulations, that's a feat.
Well, and we have another meeting in 2 weeks. But we have some legal issues to work out. And I've mentioned these things publicly. The town does not own Maple Munch Park. Right there at Natoli and Lafayette, CSX owns that. The town does not own our Veterans Memorial. CSX owns that. The town does not own the parking lot to the east side of the tracks. CSX owns that and has a long-term lease with the Maryland Railroad Administration. So there's just different players that we have to work through legal things with, make sure we have easements, licensing agreements, all that sort of stuff in place. But what they asked us to do is to put together some concepts, and that will trigger their project staff. And their project staff will be working with the town's project staff, the town's contracted engineers, and then we'll be coming to you as well in that process. But I think it's going to be months before we have something to show this committee.
So our role is going to be to react to plans or potential plans and concepts that the town is currently working on or working towards.
I only think that's it. Your role is as expansive as you would like it within the resolution. And so if this group wants to say, well, here's some priority things that we would like to see done, you can proactively do that. But we will share with you everything that we're doing, and you can weigh in on what we're doing. You can say, hey, our advice is that you should also be looking at these things or doing these things. So, Madam Chair, I think it's both. And it's only limited by the scope of the resolution, which is pretty broad.
So I guess one question is there anything that the town is currently working on that is ready to have our review or our input?
I'll defer to Director Lewis, and then I would also call your attention to one of your members put a comment in the chat.
Oh, okay. I can't see that.
Ivy, can you respond to that?
Well, I was going to say with respect to the town center project and the Natoli, if you have any ideas currently, we welcome them. I mean, it's a blank page really at this point in time. I made a note to try to have a contract in place with an engineer before the current contract expires. And then we're talking about bringing in a new resource to sort of help us jumpstart this project. But if you have thoughts on those projects that are not yet out the gate, I welcome your input.
And we
on
can
existing projects, we'll bring them to you. None come to mind right now. Some of the others are far along. Certainly under Safe Streets for All, there'll be an opportunity to assist us in identifying quick build projects, location for the big quick build, and the type of quick build project that we pursue.
Okay.
And at the next meeting, I know we don't have a date yet, but at the next meeting or the meeting after that, I can compile projects that give you a little more detail on the projects that are currently moving forward.
Okay. I think that would be helpful. And Dan added a comment to that maybe we should advise or provide feedback on the bicycle pedestrian impact statements related to development applications. I think that's a really good idea. Are we getting any of those in the developments that are up kind of for review now? I'm not sure what developments there are besides ones that I've seen.
Yeah, the main developments that are in the pipeline, if you would. I believe you are familiar with, Madam Chair, which would be the lofts in Town Center, the building at the chamber site. That's the two main ones. That everything else is pretty much just infill that the town's experiencing.
Do those have impact statements with them?
I'm not sure. Director Shelton, who's on the call. Ryan, do you know if there's bicycle impact statements for those projects?
Not to my knowledge, but I will double check that.
So are those types of impact statements, are they required as part of the development process, either through the county or through the town?
They are not through the town currently.
I don't know all the requirements. I think for developments over 10 units, they're required, and it's like a set fee, like $300 per unit and a certain number of cents per square foot of commercial space. And then I think they negotiate, usually, I don't know how they negotiate them, but usually it's included with the planning board's review.
At the county? At the county
level, yeah. With the College Park Bike Pedestrian Advisory Committee, they have kind of shared some of those with us to get input before the city goes back to the county with feedback on the application. So it seems like a good fit with the role of this group.
Is that something that the committee would like the staff team to work on with the county to say that we have this new committee and to incorporate you in those types of reviews? Dan, I guess it's similar to what you're doing in College Park.
It does seem like a really good fit. I mean, it's usually not a lot of money to do things, but it does usually contribute to some safety improvements around the new developments. And it does seem like it's helpful at least to know what's being discussed.
If that's the consensus, Madam Chair, we'd be happy to look into that and report back to the committee.
Does anybody on the committee have any thoughts or comments, objections, approval, agreement?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a positive impact point that the committee may bring. So I agree with Dan.
Director Shelton, if you can put that on your to-do list to follow up on how that process is run, and we can report back.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I don't want to belabor the point, but related to the Safe Streets and Roads for All application, again, I think to Chris's question about kind of coming up with a plan, is that is there going to be an action plan developed out of that? Because that seems like that would be a natural fit with his suggestion of kind of trying to identify issues and come up with a plan and strategy for approaching those.
Dan, are you asking me, or because
Yeah.
I missed the first part of what you said? I'm sorry, I had to turn my volume up.
Yeah, sorry. So I don't mean to belabor it, but for the Safe Streets and Roads for All, some of the planning grants are for action plans. And so I know you all said that we adopted the county's action plan, but I was wondering if we're going to develop a town action plan with that grant, because that seemed like it would be a really good fit with what Chris was suggesting of kind of identifying existing issues, identifying what plans are in place, and then identifying the gaps, and then coming up with a plan to kind of approach those. And so if that is in fact part of that grant, that seems like it would be a great opportunity for us to at least become familiar with those efforts and maybe provide some advice and suggestions from a local perspective.
And sure, that's something that we can bring to you for review. We are hiring a firm that will lead this effort. Laverne, do I have that correct? That we're going to bring a firm on that will lead the overall effort as soon as we have the grant agreement?
That's correct, John. Yes, so it is an action plan.
And yes, so we can make opportunities available for this committee to weigh in on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it just seems like really good timing for some of Chris's suggestions of coming up with a plan before we just start identifying problems and not being able to address them. So. I don't know what our, sorry, I don't know what our role is, and I don't want to hold us up too much longer, but I do think one of the impetus for this group was the tragedy from November, and I'm wondering if there are things we can be doing to kind of help our school community, both, I guess, both the elementary school, the charter school. I don't know if they're any of the other schools are kind of bordering town boundaries, but if there are things we can be doing to support kind of walk audits or other activities that might help them identify areas for improvement as well, that seems like it'd be a good role for this group.
Yeah, I agree.
John, could I jump in? I just had sort of a comment when the time's right.
Yeah, if you hold 1 second until the board is done with Dan's point.
Yeah, I'll just speak up real quick about Dan's last point there. I think you know, my participation in the committee, being invited as representative from College Park, I'm really interested in making that connection, especially the education piece. What can we do to reach out to our students and families, help them find alternative methods of transportation, help them understand, you know, how imperative it is to, you know, be careful when you're coming to school at that time of day, and then reaching out to the greater community too, and helping them understand where our schools are and where children are traveling and things like that. So I'm very interested in thinking about new solutions for our community, and then educating as well. So thank you for bringing that up, Dan.
So one of the things that I think is missing is educating children on how to ride a bike, how to cross the street. You know, we have a lot of citizens, members of our community, who English may not be their first language. And I think I know that I walk in the area of the elementary school, and there are so many kids there, and a lot of times they're with a parent, but as we know from last fall, that isn't always enough. But I don't know what opportunities we may have to do some actual education or to hire people who do it professionally. You know, like WABA works, Washington Area Bike Association works with the cyclists. And I think we probably have some consultants in the area, or I don't know that it's our role to do that, or if we have the professional skills amongst our group to take on that role. But is that something that, you know, that seems to kind of fit with working with the schools and the families and
Yeah, I think, you know, thinking about what the role of the committee is for it, I think it's definitely the role of the committee to identify the need and talk about like what could happen, whether it's, you know, the 6 E's that we were talking about in the beginning, you know, which ones of those would really, you know, how can we use that as a lens and sort of make suggestions to improve the areas around our schools, but also the behaviors of our citizens and our students. So I think we as a committee can definitely have it's within our wheelhouse to make those suggestions, and then we can look to the town and look towards, you know, specialists and other professionals to sort of implement those ideas. Like, how best do we, you know, if I've got a target audience of middle schoolers, you know, who's done bicycle education, or how can we reach out for a helmet grants to get money for helmets for kids or something like that. So we just got to come up with ideas first, right?
I see head shaking, so that's good.
And I think there's a lot of resources available too. So if we do have some ideas, I think we can pull some different resources together relatively quickly to do some educational.
And Madam Chair, if it pleases the committee, the staff can put together a summary of what our past and current efforts are as it relates to the schools. I know that the police department interacts with the schools quite regularly. The town funds various things for Riverdale Elementary School. So we'll put that list together for you.
That would be great.
Or maybe actually, maybe this is for the town manager. Do we in the budget, do we provide any funding for this committee? Is there a need for it at the moment? Oh, I'm sorry, I need to see. There's a hand raised.
Well,
Not following protocol.
There's not a budget for the committee. Because the committee's an advisory committee. But there are budget for helping schools. There's budget for education. There's budget for outreach. So there's dollars that either the staff team or the council control to move things forward. But the only funds that are not obligated to a specific project is the $351,000 that is for an undesignated project related to Walk Bike Drive. So if this group comes up with their priorities and says, hey, we would really like to see this, there's $351,000 sitting there. And the process would be you would come to the staff team, say this is what you'd like to see. We'd probably ask you lots of questions. We'd do some homework, and then together talk with the mayor and council, because the mayor and council then would have to allocate those funds for that purpose. But does that answer your question, Councilmember Enyek?
Yes, thank you.
So I have a proposal on something that we could work towards. And this is my professional soapbox. I work with for making sure that communities are accessible for people with disabilities in their right-of-way and transportation efforts. And our town is big enough to be required to have an ADA transition plan. And I don't believe that we have one. So I would just like to put that on people's radar, and a transition plan is something that requires, if we're working just in the right of way, to identify the obstacles to accessibility for people who have disabilities, like missing curb ramps or sidewalks that are in disrepair. And then to come up with a plan and a schedule to remove those barriers. And it can be really, really expensive, or it can be really, really simple. But I would like to propose that the committee take that into consideration as we identify things to work on.
I agree that definitely should be part of the work we're doing.
It's not accessible, it's not safe.
Just a question, is there an opportunity for us to communicate between meetings or just share ideas? So there are other things we want to discuss, or is there any rules around that? Open meetings, other things that we're supposed to be involved in?
Madam Chair, if I may.
I don't know what's traditionally allowed or not allowed, or.
I was going to ask for permission to speak.
Yes, please.
So I'm going to ask Jessica now. how other committees have done it, but I wonder if some sort of an email group or something can be created to assist the committee in communication, or how's that done, Ms. Barnes?
Certainly, we can create an email group for just sharing ideas, but any decision making or extensive discussion really should happen during these open public meetings so that members of the community could also weigh in. So as long as there's no real decision making, but just kind of sharing ideas, I think that's perfectly fine. And I'm happy to create a group for this group to be able to just chat back and forth on some different things. There's a lot of, sounds like there's lots of fresh ideas and some things we want to put some structure to before the next meeting. So that makes good sense, I think.
Thank you for that clarification.
Certainly.
Just another idea is Director Lewis and I attended a presentation on the League of American Cyclists has a bicycle-friendly community program. And it actually seems like a pretty good structure for helping communities kind of make more walkable, bikeable communities. There was a person from Annapolis, Anne Arundel County, basically described the application process was really helpful for them to strategize and kind of come up with some different tools that they use to improve things in their area. And I don't think it has to be a high priority, but it does seem to align with this group. And then it also overlaps with the Green Team Sustainability Committee, and that that application process counts as points to the town's Sustainable Maryland certification program as well. So could be a good opportunity to support their efforts as well.
What meeting did you say that you and Director Lewis attended?
It was a webinar through Bike Maryland, and I can share it with the group as well. But I dropped a link to the program in the chat. But it's through the League of American Bicyclists runs the program. I think there's no fee involved, but it is a very long application, so it would probably be a good thing for some volunteers to maybe help the town prepare.
Is that where they rate communities across the country?
Yeah, they provide kind of certification levels. I think it's like bronze, silver, gold, things like that.
Yeah. Has the town filled one of those out in the past? Does anyone know?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so either.
Okay. I have done that in a previous position for a state DOT, and it was quite a chore. But as chair, I can delegate.
Sounds like an agenda item for the next meeting.
Just a last idea is just, I think it was raised earlier, but just being a way for members of the community to also share. I know they can reach out to staff and elected officials directly, but I know with the College Park group, we have had some issues that have kind of made it through word of mouth to members, which have been raised. So like issues with the Purple Line construction, things that, people are just seeing or experiencing in the community that may not get raised through official channels. And so it seems like another potential role for this group is just to share those sorts of issues with the town.
So how do they do that in College Park?
Again, it's usually just conversations that community members have. But another example was there's the Purple Line is constructing a crossing near one of the stations that's being built near the University of Maryland. They were gonna paint the bike lane across at a 20-degree angle, which is a known hazard. So the committee ended up drafting a letter and referring it to the city council, which was then sent to elected officials to kind of raise the issue. So it was again, it kind of percolated up through conversations with community members, and then went through the committee and was passed along with recommendations for the city to request Maryland Department of Transportation to address the design flaw. MDOT said people can get off their bikes and walk across rather than get thrown into traffic. It's their recommendation. So we'll see if it actually gets fixed.
So I think we have several things on here. I am not a big social media person, but a Facebook group or some other type of social media would be a way to get the rest of the public involved. Is that, I know that the town has a Facebook group. Is it something that we can post messages, or we can ask?
Yes, so as a resource, so if there's things that the advisory committee would like to see, if there's information you would like to solicit, that would all go through the town as an organization. And so Director Barnes's office oversees all of our social media platforms, and so you would work with her on that.
Okay. So I need to sort through all this, but I think we've got some basic things, and I assume that we can rearrange our priorities and identify our priorities and new projects as we go along.
And we're here to support you in that. I did note that Lucy had to leave, but I think that that this is a good list of things that you would like to be involved in and get moving on. And we have homework to do to report back to you on some things and get you some information.
So I don't know what else was on our agenda.
Ms. Barnes.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no. That's what we're here for. And again, the agenda were just talking points that we thought would be helpful to spark conversation among you all. Madam Chair, if I may, I can tell you what the town's staff's thoughts were on the last two agenda points.
That would be great.
So 6B, that's the $351,000. So there's money there. We currently don't have that allocated to a walk, bike, drive project. Maybe that gets rolled into a project that you all would like to see occur. And it doesn't have to be in one place, but if you have ideas, that's there. And then 6C, creating a community culture of safety related to walk, bike, drive. That's something that the staff team endeavors to do. It's something that we struggle with. And that's evidenced by folks driving 62 on Riverdale Road right next to the elementary school, past two memorials, driving 105 miles an hour on East-West Highway. It baffles me sometimes some of the behavior. Back before River Tech Road was closed about a week before, I had a vehicle pass me on the left. There's some serious issues to address. I'm glad that this group has come together and can help the town and the town staff and the mayor and council get a better handle on not just issues, but potential solutions and a way to move forward. So that's all that we had for that. The last thing, Madam Chair, I do have staff that need to leave. And so some of the staff are going to be dropping off, but Director Barnes and I will stay till the end of your meeting.
Okay, Chris, looks like Chris has his hand up.
Yeah, thanks. Just wondered for 6B, is there any expiration to that money? Is there a use by date that we?
It's in CIP, so CIP survives a fiscal year, and it's unrestricted funds, so it's local dollars. So the short answer is no, unless it gets allocated in between now and then. So if there are ideas or whatever that the committee has, it's better to share them sooner rather than later, and because they may end up being allocated for things that the staff team or the council believe are the priorities at the time.
Sure, understood. Thanks.
Okay. So with that was a good question. Our next meeting would be September
16th.
I just need to double check that date and get that back to the committee. We can do a schedule through the next calendar year as a draft and circulate it amongst the committee just to make sure the dates look good for everybody and be flexible there.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, just so everyone understands what Director Barnes is going to be looking at with scheduling, we are sensitive to all major religious holidays. So we sometimes will bump meetings out a week or things of that nature. So it's not just local or national holidays, but religious holidays as well.
Understood. And with that, do I need to ask for
a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn. Thank you.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Seconded.
So
You just vote.
who motioned and who seconded?
I motioned it.
I seconded.
So Councilman motioned. And
Seconded by Chris Urban.
Chris Urban. And with that, I'll try to be a little more organized next time. This caught me completely off guard. So I will get with Jessica and we'll get a little more organized and get a schedule out for next time. And with that, do we have to take?
I don't believe that you need a roll call vote, but you should just call for a vote, or if without an objection, however you want to do it.
All those in agreement with adjourning the meeting, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say aye. Okay, and with that, we will end our first meeting. Thank you, everyone, very much.
Thank you all very much
Thank
for
you.
volunteering.
Thank you all. Have a good
Okay.
Nice job,
Bye-bye.
Melissa.
All right.
Yeah,
Good night.
nice job.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.